pre-processing in the mastering stage is one of the reasons why we developed the SST.
Yeah.
Our on-air processors have to be smart enough to see that the source material coming in already has a drastically reduced dynamic range, and is no need to reduce it more. And, but also smart enough to know that when you're playing a cut from 1985, it needs to loosen up and do some stuff.
Right.
And that's what that algorithm does.
And it's nice because it actually keeps it does so without further manipulating the audio as far as trying to restore something that wasn't there in the first place, only to hammer it again.
Right.
It just basically says, I'm going to stop doing something on this because I don't need to. Call me when you need me again,
Yes.
which is basically what it's saying.
Yeah.
I nicknamed it the vertigo detector after the U2 song, which was one of those really heavily processed songs. And that was the test song used to say, make it back out, please.
Mm-hmm. And it works amazingly well because that whole front end just kind of stops sometimes and
Well, the whole
sits
point
there
is
and waits for when it needs to work.
Yes.
it doesn't change the spectral balance that the user set in the multiband.
Right.
That all stays. So all you're really doing is making a decision whether to add more density or not, and when.
Because it's sidechained and it takes cues from your settings of the 5-band and the position of the 5-band and the incoming audio and its dynamic range, it's able to do more than you could ever imagine out of even a multi-band AGC that would sit in front of something even with windowing or a wideband AGC.
Yeah, wideband AGC doesn't know what's going to happen later.
Right.
And this whole scheme can't work if it doesn't know not only what's coming in, but what's happening after.
And the problem with the wideband AGC is it's an averaging processor. So if the average level is high, it's going to overshoot its target and push it down further than it needs to. And you don't get that with SST.
Well, it still allows the multiband compressor to catch things.
Yes. It's like a babysitter just sitting and making sure that this is the range that I've set and it's going to move within this range.
Yep.
And when it doesn't need to move, it's going to stop. And that's why people have often said that if they think about SST, especially with transitions, sometimes you'll transition from a cut that has very little dynamic range to something that has a lot of dynamic range. It seems like the cuts just float in and not like where you actually hear it breathing or trying to catch up to something that might be low after something that has very limited dynamic range. It just magically just floats right there.
Well, and that's because all that intelligence is in that same algorithm.
Right.
So it doesn't have to look somewhere to get data.
No.
It knows everything, so it knows what to do.